Comedy of errors, everyone. Comedy of errors. Welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman, and thank you so much for joining us. We have today the spoiler review of The Flash. I cannot wait to talk about this. This has been a very controversial thing, you could say. I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for all showing up. I really appreciate it. We got a plethora of people coming up. There'll be kind of people coming in and out. That's how it works here in the Comic Binge. But if you haven't already, please subscribe today and like the video. It only makes spider sense, y'all. It's all it takes, That's all it takes. But today we have the Flash spoiler review. If you're wondering, we're called the Comic Binge, but we're talking about a movie. Superhero movies are kind of, to me, one and the same with comic books because not all comic books are about superheroes, but you get the idea. I don't like calling them comic book movies. I call them superhero movies because the comic books are a medium, right? Come on. So anyway, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, retweet, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone about the Comic Binge. And I've been really thankful for everyone who's been watching the videos lately. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and also to 5,000 watch hours, which if you want to do me a favor and just hit play and just put your phone down or do whatever, or I appreciate that too. So without further ado, I got a plethora of people to talk to about this. I'm really excited. I got a lot of comments to go into. I'll start with the first person who showed up today, who's most punctual. I'll say that for the other two people. Javier Ryan. No, we got Jim today. Jim, my friend, what's up, my friend?
Hi, how's it going, man? Good to be here.
Excellent. Jim, before we get started and bring other people on, you have a couple amazing things to talk about. So why don't we talk about your new book that comes out tomorrow?
Yeah, it's the Atonement Bell. It comes out on trade paperback. It looks like this.
Oh, hold on, I got it. There we go. Yeah, put it up here for you all, right there. Okay.
Yeah, it's our new horror series that came out, started last year. And this is the trade paperback collection. It collects the 4-issue series, and it's about 136 pages. It's got all kinds of cool bonus material, and super proud of it.
That it should be, everyone. And here's the crazy thing. I'm going to say it for him. This was nominated for an Eisner. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah, no one was more surprised than we were when we found out. Okay. But it was amazing. We're still like trying to wrap our heads around it. It was always a thing that would happen to other people. So the fact that they recognize this book is incredible.
It was nominated for Best New Series. Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
See, and for those who don't know, Jim's been on the show many times. He's a binge regular. He is one of the most legit, nicest dudes you'll ever meet out there. It couldn't have happened to a better dude. I mean, no BS. You're awesome. You deserve it. You better win, or I'll
thank you, buddy.
So I'll come for you all. If you don't win, make this win. I'm coming for you all. So anyway, yeah, go check out Atonement Bell. He's also got other books on Red 5 Comics, Butcher Queen, which is a great series. I'll have you on. We'll talk about that. We'll get you on again. We'll get you on sooner. So anyway, we're going to talk about The Flash. We're going to talk about, we'll bring other people on before we get your thoughts on that. So we got Mr. El Corazon himself, Javi. What's going on? Oh, I think you're muted. Oh, there he is. There he goes.
There we go.
El Corazon.
In Central City and Keystone tonight.
You know how hard it is for me not to say the El Corazon still? It's so hard, but I just want to do it every time.
I never wanted to point it out because it just amused me every time.
I know, you're like, Paul, you're just a big idiot, but I love you anyway. And you know what? You'd be right. But you know what? I saw your laugh last time I said that. Like, okay, he acknowledges it. I know. Yeah. I know. But you know what? El Corazon, you're here. You've talked about this movie a ton. So I appreciate you coming on,
Not enough.
Like, seriously, not enough. Hey, turn your microphone up a little bit. You're a little low, so just kind of throw it out there. Anyway, so Javi, you don't need an introduction. You're Javi. You're El Corazon. I mean, you're always here. Come on. So, but anyway, I'm really excited because I didn't hear from this guy. I almost thought he was going to show up, but I can't ever count out Ryan Haas. Ryan Haas, he's reliable. He's old faithful.
Yo. No, yeah, you told me. I put it in my calendar, and I was like, oh, look, that's today. I don't know what day it is, but I know that what I'm supposed to do.
It's today, yeah.
I look at that calendar, and it rules my life. So
That's amazing. Oh, this is great. So, I got 4 of the 6 panelists. Chris and Justin will be showing up at some point today. But thank you guys so much for coming on. And I had, before when I asked you all to come on the show, I didn't know, I would never have predicted, and I mean this too. Like I never would have predicted what was that? Which one is that?
That was the Batman on Film 25.
Oh yeah.
Andrew in the chat in the comments.
That looks good. See, I haven't. I'm so focused right now. Without Chris, I can't get to the comments yet. I'll get to you. I promise. I love comments. Keep commenting, like video, all that jazz. Anyway, so without further ado, let's just get straight into it here because there's a lot to talk about with the Flash. I think both from the film story side, and I will definitely talk about the outcome of the weekend and everything. But and I feel bad because Jim, you've talked about on your Facebook and stuff like that, your reviews, but Javi and Ryan have gone for a lot about this. So you guys showing up means a lot to me to help out. I really appreciate it. But this is really interesting. It's really a fascinating thing because I would never have predicted myself the controversy. I mean, minus Ezra Miller, that's a whole different thing, right? But the film itself, outside of Ezra, has caused such a controversy for people that I'm kind of taken aback a little bit. I see people hating on the movie, and I'm like, do we see the same movie? Did I don't see it. And that's just me. And I'll throw it to you first here, Jim. I'll kind of be the orchestration of the conversation because you haven't talked much about it. Give me your general kind of thoughts on the film, and where you kind of lie with the character of the Flash and everything.
Yeah, totally. So I saw it about a month ago. It was like a sneak preview kind of a thing, and we were told the version we saw wasn't the totally complete version, and the ending, the surprise ending, with Ezra and Bruce Wayne, wasn't in the version that I saw. So I didn't see that. I didn't know who Ezra was saying what the fuck about, Right. But to me, so when I saw it, I love DC and Marvel, but growing up, I was always a DC guy. And it was mostly because those were the cartoons that were on Saturday mornings. And I always felt like DC always had, I don't know, I could just relate to them more. They were more of the world that I wanted to be in. Marvel represented to me more the real world, which was cool also. It made it relatable. But I was just more of a DC guy. And when I saw The Flash, aside from the great performances across the board, Ezra Miller, and I know he's had a lot of problems, and whatever, but his performance was so good. It was outstanding to me.
Yeah.
It was great seeing Keaton back as the Bat, and which I love Michael Keaton as Batman. That's my guy,
Yeah.
And to me, the Flash came across to me as a breath of fresh air. I thought it was a love letter to the entire history of DC.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll get to this more, but when they were going through the different, the timelines and everything else, the different worlds, I was completely blown away. And I'll say what really blew me away, and it's not a cameo, whatever that everybody's talking about. Can we talk about that a little bit? You mind?
We're full spoiler, guys. If you haven't noticed already, we're going full spoiler. It says it in the description, and we're going. Go ahead.
So I'm a big fan of the George Reeves Superman series. Christopher Reeve is my favorite, but George Reeves, I've always liked that TV show from the 50s, which I watched obviously years later in syndication. Yeah. But I always liked that Superman because there were no other super guys to battle with. It was about an alien who came to Earth and how he mixes it up with real people, with Earthlings. And that was really always interesting to me because it accentuated everything about that character that was cool and it was different. And when I saw George Reeves in that very short instance on the big screen, I mean, in the 21st century, decades and decades after that show went off the air, I was blown away. Then I saw Adam West. It was like, oh my gosh, this is like a love letter to everything I like. Yeah, about DC. It was, and that was, I thought that was fun. It was a fun movie. It was it really did a good job, I think, of threading very heavy, deep emotions.
Right.
And what happened with his mom, and the decision that ultimately had to be made at the end of his journey there, at the end of the film, was heartbreaking. But it was also an incredibly fun film.
Yeah.
And even for the Michael Keaton Batman character, I thought it was, really well done, where he landed with everything. I didn't feel let down, which I kind of expected because Michael Keaton, this, but I thought it was great.
Yeah. Welcome,
I
Justin.
cannot hear you, so hold on.
We can hear you. Here, I'll mute you just for if you guys can't hear me or can't hear him. So, Justin has joined us. We are joined. We're one more person away from Justin. This is Jim. Jim, this is Justin.
Hello.
I don't think he can hear you yet. But anyway, I think you bring up a great point. Is that I've seen people say Flash should have been a celebration for DC heroes, and I'm like, what? How was it not? So,
Yeah.
Haas, I'm gonna throw it to you. Did you think the Flash was a celebration for? That's right, Justin. Do you think? Because to me, it was. To me, the Flash was a celebration of DC Comics. But I'm not. I'm the Marvel zombie of everybody. So, what's your take on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I thought it was. I don't know if you're. I feel like the film holds up, whether you're a Flash fan or a comic book fan or not. It earned the multiverse stuff, and it earned the crazy cameos at the end.
Yeah.
It didn't lose sight of that stuff because it tried to it eased into it actually really well.
Sure.
I thought, and so even people that come to see it that aren't necessarily haven't seen all the movies or haven't or have only seen things that they've liked over the last 50 years, you're gonna it's something in there for everybody. And I think the best Flash stories in the comics have that action and the speed and the comic bookiness, but they're always rooted in emotion. That's why Flashpoint was the anchor for the storytelling here. So I feel like it did justice to the Flash as a character, as well as trying to be a love letter for all of DC, but also this iteration of the universe, since this will be like the end of that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's the end. So I guess here we'll kind of I'll throw it to you, Javi. Do you think that this movie, when you because I know you enjoyed it, and Haas, I think you told me in private, like, and I don't mean to speak for you, but I'll just really quickly. You liked it a lot. It seemed the first time. It went down the second time, but it went back up the third time. Is that correct for you, Ryan?
That's right.
Okay, so Javi, like for you, you've seen this movie at what, 4 times now?
Twice.
3 times? I thought you seen it 3 times.
No, I've only seen it twice.
Okay.
Thursday and the Thursday before.
Okay, what's your take on, like, do you feel this is a celebration for DC, like, heroes, and like a good, because assume it's the end. I mean, I think we all can agree it's the end, but do you think it's a good send off to what we had before and a good honoring of what we love about the comic books in themselves?
I think Aquaman 2 is really the end
That's
for
fair,
this universe. But I definitely feel the love letter aspect of it. And now hearing like all the various discourse, part of me wishes we could have seen, more of that, not the quick little, no pun intended, flashes that we got. Like, it would have been nice to have honored the TV legacy, but at the same time, I can see why they wouldn't do that. Because as much as people may love Grant Gustin, like, he's not iconic like Adam West, who has been around for over 50 years, or George Reeves. So even though they had TV shows, like, I think Bill was saying it, like, George Reeves and Adam West also had movies for their iterations. So it makes sense that you keep it more movie focused. So in that regard, it would have been nice to have seen like a quick, Ryan Reynolds or Shaq. I don't know.
Ryan Reynolds.
Shaq.
Just throw it out there. But
Shaq is Steel.
Though, like we're still,
Shaq for sure should have been in that.
We're still
Dude.
far out from Crisis. Crisis
right.
Infinite Earths, the TV version, touched on just about everything except for like the movie serials, because it had Burt Ward and it had Alexander Knox and it had the Birds of Prey TV show. Like there was so much in there.
You're going deep.
Yeah, but I mean that's what Crisis did, and at the end you got to see like a quick shot of Oa from the Green Lantern movie, and you got to see Swamp Thing and all the other stuff. So I think combined you have a really perfect like this is the multiverse. This is what makes DC awesome.
Right.
And I don't think that I get Ian brought up in the comments how some are calling them distasteful or insensitive. I don't see it that way at all. Because for me, like seeing Christopher Reeve's Superman, the way that they chose to do it. Yeah. Obviously, he can't come in and film something else. Yeah. But to me, that says that the Superman that you love, if Christopher Reeve is your Superman, he's still out there, separate from the actor. He's alive, be it some other part of the multiverse, just in your imagination, that he's still having adventures. And just because we've seen Brandon Routh and we've seen Henry Cavill, doesn't mean that Christopher Reeve isn't also out there too somewhere, fighting the never-ending battle. So to me, I saw it as, a sign that any movie or TV show that you loved, if you love that iteration, it's still out there for you. Yeah. All you have to do is picture it.
Yeah. I would say anyone who has an issue with the cameos, I feel like that's stupid. It's like me buying the Superman 78 comic book. Like, is that disrespectful because we're continuing those adventures?
Yeah.
Like it's revered, and so for people to latch onto it and go, hey man, we want to honor the like Christopher Reeve version of Superman, for someone to get upset about it, that's just them wanting to get upset. I don't think it's dishonoring at all.
I agree with that. Yeah,
just
I totally agree.
Complaining so they can jump around.
All right, so since you're on the center stage here,
oh, I am on the center. Look at me.
You're on the center stage. Come on. So I think you're like the only person besides Jim who hasn't had a chance to give us public thoughts on a form of podcast of some sort, Justin. So I kind of already know what you're going to say. I think I disagree with a little bit of what you're going to say, but
really, I haven't said anything yet. I don't think
you have on Facebook. I saw what you said.
Oh,
try to front.
What did I say? Okay,
you were like, "Oh, like Batman 3."
That's just me being. That's
all right. Tell us your thoughts. What you think of Flash?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'll up front, I'm not a huge fan of Ezra Miller. I don't like his portrayal as Flash. I never did. I think he's miscast. He's not Barry Allen to me. He's him, and it's like him and Lex Luthor are like just like weird cousins. Like the way they're like I just don't like that. That's not the Flash to me. But I have to make those are my grievances, and I have to know that going in that he's just not the guy I want to play the Flash.
That's fair.
That's what that is. That being said, man, he did a phenomenal job playing two versions of the same character, right? Even my kids, like they're 14 and 10, they're like, he's so annoying, Dad. Like they didn't even connect with them, and like this is probably they couldn't stand him. They're like, Dad, why was he so like weird? Like why was he acting like that?
He so weird?
And so and again, I have to make allowances for that. I thought the movie was really fun. My whole family went and they loved it. Like me and my boys are the only ones who know about any of this stuff. Like we went with my sister and brother-in-law, my mom, and they all loved it, and my mom, that's Michael Keaton. He's the same one. She was just like completely like, oh, that's the same guy. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was good. I think it told a great story. There's parts of the story I didn't like. I don't know if we're getting into all that stuff.
Yeah. Spoilers. Go full spoilers. We can go in.
I'm tired of Zod. I'm like, why do we have to see Zod again? No one liked Man of Steel. No one liked BVS. So why are we revisiting the same
tripling down?
Yeah, like hey,
tripling down.
That stuff nobody liked? We're gonna do it one more time. It's like we're over it. And I think it was a huge mistake to not completely do the Aquaman versus Wonder Woman stuff. Like, do it. You have Momoa, who people like, you have Gal Gadot, who people like. We're probably never going to see Gadot again. I don't know what's going to happen, But do that. That's what people want to say. Like Andy Muschietti, he said, like, oh, one of the things we got right was making the decision to not do that. And I'm like, I think that's the thing you got wrong. You guys should have cashed in all of your chips. Because if this is going to be, when they filmed this, there was no James Gunn stuff going on. There was kind of the Hamada plan that was going to happen.
Sure.
That was a pretty awesome plan. Let's not like call that forget that was going to go somewhere. Whether
Infinite Crisis, or Crisis on Infinite Earths,
that would have been really cool. And so the Zod thing is like, oh, Zod. I think people like remember like, oh, that sucked. Why do we want to see that again? Like 30 minutes of disaster porn from Man of Steel. We don't want to watch that. So
wow.
That's okay. That's me saying again, I don't prefer Ezra Miller as the Flash. I don't know why we had to revisit these scenes again. But that being said, I like the film. I did like it. I enjoyed it. And I do agree that, dude, it was as much of a love letter as DC could get on cinema. Like that's what this was, They paid homage to like Michael Keaton. You got all the you even got freaking like Nicolas Cage, which is such a deep cut. People don't even know.
Dude, such a deep cut.
Like Javi was sharing about how his daughter knew because he had to explain why he was the voice on the Teen Titans thing, right? And so anyways, like for the people in the know, it was cool. My sister, she was like, that was weird. Why was he in there? And I had to tell her. And so now my brother-in-law and sister are going to watch the thing that what's his face did the death of
that's a great documentary.
Oh yeah, it is. So if more people watch that because of this, cool. But yeah, Flash was great. Cameos were freaking great. If you're upset about them, I'm happy. I'm glad.
Wow.
Don't
be
that. No, man, because people complain about dude, this whole
people complain about punches not connecting and
that's a legitimate
all right, you two.
More than one person fitting in the Batmobile.
Listen,
it's such a
Batmobile should see too. That
we will talk about Dark Knight Rises at some point for comics at the movies at some point.
Batmobile not going down the street though would have. That's kind of a bummer. We didn't get to see it.
I agree with that.
That's one of my top 2 bummers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, it was all fun. It was good.
All right.
Paul Walker for Barry Allen. That's what I wanted.
We're gonna dive into this more because I think you brought some great points. I want to hit Jim up for a second. Jim, my question for you would be: did you like Man of Steel?
I thought it was okay. It didn't move me either way. Okay. To me, I don't think. I feel almost bad saying this. I don't think there's been a good Superman movie for me since Superman 2. I thought the first 2 Superman movies were, they really got it right. They got the character. They got the big blue Boy Scout thing. The hope of an alien that comes to Earth and wants to help, his new planet survive, and they got so many things right. I love Henry Cavill. I thought he was great. I just didn't. It just wasn't for me. That's all. Many people enjoyed it. That's fine, but
Right, and the reason I asked that was because was that a deterrent for you with Man? Because you didn't like it that much. Was that a problem for you revisiting that with Zod? Like Justin brought up a good point because I love Man of Steel. I know a lot of us. There's some of us on here love it. Like
I don't hate it. It's just But this wasn't my Superman.
But do you think that was a mistake for them to do that in Flash to revisit that whole scenario?
I didn't think it was a mistake. I just thought why am I seeing Zod again? It didn't take me out of the picture, but I thought why can't we do anything else?
Right. That's fair. Yeah. And people in the comments, hook me up. Was that a deterrent for you, even if you love or hate the movie? I mean, obviously Justin likes the movie, so he rolled with it and he was fine with it in the end. But it sounds like you and him are kind of similar. Not big fans of that whole experience, but you roll with it because the story was still pretty solid for overall. Correct?
I'll tell you honestly, it didn't take me out of the movie at all, and it didn't sour my experience.
Okay.
But I did think it could have been almost anybody in that role. It could have been, they could have introduced Brainiac or something. Anything would have been more interesting than like having Zod come back in. And I love Michael Shannon. He's awesome. But,
right.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. So if people are wondering what we're talking about, yes, we're going to talk about comic books a little bit on here as well. We're talking about Flashpoint. And Justin, you brought up a great point that we talked about this last week. I never read Flashpoint until recently. And here's what I'm going to say I actually almost agree with what you're saying and disagree at the same time. I think this is an overall better story than Flashpoint. Like, as far as like what they did with the story, because I don't like the cosmic treadmill. We don't see Barry Allen, again, spoiler alert for the comic book people, but the comic book's great. Like it's still good for what it is.
Yeah.
But I would say that this comic book is not, the story is just not as consistent and is not as heartbreaking and heartfelt as the movie. I thought the movie did a great job of bringing that whole idea better than the comic, to be quite honest. But that being said, I will agree with you, Justin, that I think maybe if you went a different route, not the Zod thing, but with the Aquaman, maybe have that with Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot or Gadot, whatever she pronounced her name. If you would have had them as the antagonists or like the result of what's going on, but at the same time,
you would have an emotional connection. People loved Aquaman. People loved the first Wonder Woman film. No one cares about Zod, so why do I care that he's back? But if you have these two if you have these two beloved characters, can you imagine like, oh shoot, like Aquaman and Wonder Woman, the two characters that we love and those films did a lot better at the box office, people were invested in. Shoot, why not put them together? Because I think that would create more of an interest. I know it's a Flash story, and like I feel like it would play out the same, but at least
I think it would pull too much interest from it, though.
It's almost like you could do that if you didn't do the Keaton Batman thing.
Maybe
in terms of the positioning and how much stuff would have to go into the movie to support all that.
Ryan, let me throw it at you here real quick, and Justin, I'll get back to you in a second.
No, that's fine.
I'm gonna be kind of doing judge and jury here a little bit, so I want to get everyone in on this because I think they're touching on something that's really interesting that no one really has really talked about. I think that. At least that I can read or saw, whatever. My question to you, Ryan, is: do you think we should have had that with them instead, like a more understated confrontation between Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and that would have been better instead of Keaton Batman?
No, I want a Keaton Batman.
Do you think Keaton would be better served that way than having perhaps a better overall story from the movie? Potentially. I'm not saying I agree, but potentially.
No, I feel like Keaton's Batman was used so well in this, and they did go through a lot of Keaton's Batman has his own arc, but it doesn't stomp on the Flash's arc, and
absolutely,
and they speak to each other really well in the movie. I think I might have said this on like one of the non-spoiler BOF shows, but like
one of the many.
Yeah. Because I was going nuts if I didn't get to see this movie early. But
you want to get nuts?
I told you we're gonna get nuts. Early. We're gonna get nuts here,
Yeah.
Keep going.
Ezra's Barry Allen interpretation is really quirky and socially awkward, and Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne and Batman is also that. And those are the two, and they're really complementary performances, and so it was very interesting to be able to have them speak to each other in story, and I did this in tone, and to have the opportunity to have Keaton's Batman and Affleck, and then at the end Clooney. I mean, so in terms of the multiverse aspect of it all, I that was really cool. So yeah, I would have loved to see the more of a Flashpoint take on Aquaman and Wonder Woman, but
do you think that would have
been too much in this movie?
So, and Justin, I'm going to hit you up, Ryan, with this question real quick, and then I'm going to hit Justin, and then I'm going to hit Javi after this. Do you think that, and this really quick answer, do you think that the general audience would have preferred a Gal Gadot, whatever, an Aquaman confrontation than the Zod thing, and that would have generated perhaps a bigger box office?
I don't think so.
Exactly.
I don't think it would have mattered a
100%
big
agree.
deal either way.
All right, Justin, I'll throw you on next, man. What do you think? Do you think that we think general audiences would have loved that? Would have made it? Well, we would have broken the century mark if we would have had Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa in this movie as like the main antagonist.
I don't know. I mean, those are. I'm just talking about what I would prefer. I think
I agree.
Based on how much people didn't care about Zod in
you
Man
really
of
don't.
Steel.
I think you don't care about Zod.
I like Man of Steel. I'm just being objective in it. Like, why would you go back to vomit? No, it's like
whoa.
Why are you returning back? It's like like a dog returns to its vomit. Why do you keep going back to the same thing? No one cared, and you guys did it again. We revisited. They tried to validate the ending of Man of Steel that people could not stand, that they complained about. They revisited it in BVS to try to redeem it. Okay, but look what Batman did during. This is why he's so mad. Like, dude, we are tired of Zod. It didn't work, and then you had to go back to the remains in Justice League to bring Superman back. Okay, we get it. Zod was the thing. Like, let's leave it, and then to bring it back in the Flash. Like, I did like when it showed like Barry Allen and his his made at home Spidey.
I love that part.
Like him saving like that was cool, but I would have rather not have seen Zod again. But it is what it is. I'm just saying, I think if I was in charge, I would have brought in Aquaman and Gal, had them go at it, and it like I saw what Zeddy said it would be like BVS. No, it wouldn't, because people are now invested into Gal Gadot, and they're invested into
I agree with that.
Aquaman, Jason.
It had the connection that BVS didn't have.
Exactly, you have the buy-in. No one cared about Henry Cavill fighting Batman because they didn't love Henry Cavill yet, but people love Gal Gadot. Like she's Wonder Woman to them.
Yeah, they do.
I think it would have had. You would have had more investment. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. I don't care about the box office talk.
I know, but just play along.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just would have had more of an emotional, like, oh shoot, why are these two people we love fighting? Like, we love them, and now they're fighting, and the Flash messed everything up. Like, he messed it up and caused this to happen. Like, figure it out, bro. And so,
Javi,
that's it.
Javi, we reviewed this story last week, so I want to know: do you think that this is do you think this would have been a better story overall? Like, if you would have included that instead of Zod?
No, I think more people like Man of Steel than liked Wonder Woman 84.
That's very true.
That's true.
And
I like Wonder Woman 84.
It's okay.
I think
that, not this.
For me, this was the Flash movie I enjoyed. It's my favorite version of the Flashpoint story, and that's not.
Amen. I agree with 100%.
Something I say lightly.
I know.
Yeah. So I think that while it's an interesting idea to see these alternate Wonder Woman and Aquaman, I don't think the audience really wants to see that.
Yeah.
They definitely didn't want to see this movie. Apparently.
Dang.
And
rough.
And there's a difference between comics and movies and TV.
Yeah.
And what works in comics doesn't translate. Like, no one cared in Action 650 when Metropolis got wrecked by Lex Luthor as he was his body was decaying, and Superman's holding the Daily Planet Globe from running down the street. No one got upset about that, but they got upset when they saw a realistic take of it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what works in the comics doesn't necessarily work in film, and that's why they do adaptations that are inspired by. Maybe it would be a different story if Warner Brothers had all the money in the world and weren't getting bought out from underneath themselves every third Wednesday, to where we had an HBO Max series where we could explore the world of Flashpoint and see
cooking, y'all,
and see this Aquaman and Wonder Woman backstory that we got in the comics, because that's what worked about Flashpoint, the comic at least. Is the comic, like you mentioned on our episode last week, it's very condensed, it's very compressed, and the part of the reason for that was because they had 30 different miniseries that tied in, so you could get into every little aspect of the world.
Yeah.
And you don't get that with the movie because you've got 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So in a different world where we could have like an HBO or I'm sorry, a Max miniseries and like do episodes and see all this stuff, maybe then it would have worked. But I like the focus on it being Barry's story, and Zod is just like an easy throwaway. It's like everyone kind of knows what happened because everyone made a big, uproar about it on social media. So it's an easy get. It brings everything full circle.
Exactly, easy get. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even Zod or Michael Shannon himself was saying like it's just kind of like having your action figures fighting together with each other because he doesn't have a lot to do. He's just there to be who he is. Like he doesn't have any kind of character arc to where he's trying to do suicide by cop in this movie. Yeah. So it was there for the spectacle and not for that specific threat, because the main thing is Barry's arc in dealing with himself. Right.
Well, and I'm going to say this, and I'll throw it to Jim really quick here. Jim, have you read Flashpoint at all? Are you familiar with the story at all in the comics? Oh, sorry, you're muted. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's so much stuff to read. Yeah. So it's okay.
Yeah, but you haven't read it though.
I've not read it. No.
Okay. Do you know? Yeah, and that's the thing for me is I actually didn't read it until last week. And I was amazed. Yeah, and I was amazed at how just basically just how much the ideas were there. And Jeff Johns is, I think, a brilliant idea guy, and he most of the time is execution. He executes things pretty well. I don't want to get into the whole Jeff Johns, Zack Snyder.
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's really good, man. He's really good, and his idea is there. But it feels like the idea was always amazing, but never was really executed that well. And Javi, you brought up a great point about how it felt like the Zod thing was an easy in to get everything like isolated on one thing and have it be condensed to where it's not overly complicated, because people generally remember Man of Steel for the most part, and it all kind of makes sense. And it makes sense in the context of Barry's age and how it works with, him and everything. So I would say, yeah, I agree with you. I think I will say I'm with Justin. I do think that maybe having Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa as them being facing each other off and having that be more of like the undercurrent but at the same time, I don't think you could have a carefree Barry, which I really cared for, which we'll get into him next here. Again, spoiler alert for if people haven't watched. We're going to talk about Barry, aka Dark Flash. Ryan, I haven't heard you. I've listened to a decent amount of your podcast, but I'm not sure how much you feel about Dark Flash / aka Barry Allen of Multiverse, whatever it is called. What's your take on that whole arc and everything?
I mean, it's kind of whatever, I mean,
whatever.
It's all right. I've seen 1,010 different speed related villains on the TV show, on the CW show.
God. Yeah.
So I
like the infant speedsters.
As soon as the movie was half over, I was like, okay, that's Barry Allen. I figured out what it was supposed to be. Not to say it was bad. It's just like I liked it more as this is a result of the Flash's actions manifested, which is great. I mean, it really drives home the whole point of the story. Like his actions are coming back to get him. It worked for me. I mean, it's not like he had a ton of screen time in there. But everything made sense. As a whole, I liked it. I liked it. I mean, I was expecting, what is this Dark Flash? Are they going to do Reverse Flash or anything like that? But at the end of the day, I'm glad that they didn't, and they stuck just to this Dark Flash, because it leaves the door open for. They didn't invalidate it. They didn't say like, they didn't close the door on doing more with that story. So, in my head, I can imagine more Flash movies, but yeah, I didn't hate it. I thought it was cool, and I like the way it was handled. It all made sense. Yeah.
Do you think that Do you think it was a good? Do you think it was a good reveal considering, or did you see it like coming a mile away for you as a comic book fan?
For me as a comic book fan, I called it immediately, but it was still told well the way the reveal happened.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Because as soon as I was like, I think I know what's going on, and then as soon as he got the first piece of shrapnel, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that was at that point. Yeah. Which I'll go into it in a little bit. Javi, I'm gonna go with you last because I have a lot of questions for you about Dark Flash. But I'm gonna go with Justin next. Justin, what you think about Dark Flash, aka Barry Allen?
Yeah, it was fine. It was like it was. DC has always DC has like, I feel like, sorry, Marvel guy. DC has like the best villains.
That's fair. I
feel like in these movies they pick the worst villains to put on screen, and they're like, hey, another gray guy, right? It's
gray
like
CG guy.
Yeah, I just, it was
and
a
the
weird
Flash
pick.
has the best. Other than Batman has an amazing Rose Gallery, and they kill off. Two movies with the Boomerang guy, and they kill him off in the second.
You got the rogues.
Exactly. No, Ryan is 100% like on the dot. But I mean, obviously, Boomerang guy isn't going to cause a rift in the timeline. They
could have had him. They could have had a rogue be like Falcone, the Falcone guy.
Yeah. Oh no, I hear you.
You know, in the beginning,
that would have been cool.
Okay.
Falcone guy. Oh shoot! No, I don't like the movie. Yeah.
You would do that.
I figured like kind of like Ryan. Once I saw the shrapnel in his arm, I was like, oh shoot, he's gonna be the Dark Flash, and he was, and so it wasn't like a surprise. I think the movie was so good. I didn't care about like the Reverse Flash, not being revealed to murder, his mom and stuff.
I didn't care about that. That wasn't a big deal to me.
It didn't. Yeah. That was like you can't. I can't have an issue about that. But he served the villain served the purpose. The greatest. This movie wasn't about a villain. It was about a problem. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's okay. I think that's okay. It was kind of like him dealing with his inability to fix the issue. Like he came to a realization, and then he had to like convince his other self of that same realization. And he was the more immature version, so he couldn't get there. And so I got it. It made sense. I just didn't like the design. I think he just looked like a turd. And I was like,
but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna fight you on that one, Justin. I think that he does not look like a turd. He actually looks awesome. I'm going to say that right now. So we finally have our team is complete. Our Suicide Squad is now complete. We have Mr. Chris, the Reverend.
No way, dude. He is Lieutenant Flag, dude. He is not on the squad. Sorry. He's the only one who's good here.
Hopefully movie Flag and not crazy original Flag, right?
Yeah.
Chris, I just want to roll. I was going to finish up on Barry Allen, Dark Flash, and we'll get your general thoughts, and we'll kind of do a more open forum kind of thing. So I just want to say, everyone, the Reverend's here. Don't worry, he's here, everyone. So Justin gave us spiel.
You gentlemen.
Yes. So really quick, Jim, what's your take on our friend here, Barry Allen, Dark Flash, everything?
As far as like his role in the film or his design,
I say everything because when I say Captain Cold. See, Zeddy, you got me all Captain Coldish. No, when I say Dark Flash, I mean Barry Allen, like the character itself from the whole movie, like the annoying character. Just really quick before I throw it back to you, I'll throw it to myself real quick. I do think that I love the arc, the idea of this annoying character turning into the dark character. Like I think that was actually a well played like thing, which no one really talks about. Everyone's like, I'm like, I liked it. I thought that was a cool concept of like the most annoying character ends up being this like really evil, powerful, like vengeful character that, maybe it was obvious, but I like that juxtaposition of those two different things. Like he's actually a way bigger deal than we, than what we thought. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, what's your take on the Barry Allen of that timeline turning into the Dark Flash?
Well, I actually agree with you on that. I mean, I think his first entrance into the film when you see him in the background skipping down the street, you know, and Barry has to go after him and stuff. And I thought he was going to be the comic relief of the film. So I really did think that it was really great that his purpose was to learn that, hey, we can change something in life. We can, you know, I could save my mother if I just have one more chance to make it right. And what, you know, the whole story tells us is you can't change those things without serious damage. You know, no matter how many times you try, the only thing you're going to do is damage yourself. You're going to break your heart over and over again. You're going to become a shell of your former self. And I thought that whole journey was great. You know, again, even with like a lot of stuff that I work on, a lot of it is about tied into family and loss, and so anything, you know, all the stuff with his mom, wanting to save her life and you know, create the ideal timeline, right? The ideal life. It's just not a real thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's an unattainable goal. So I thought that was great. As far as his design, I will agree. I will agree with Justin. I thought that, you know, I feel like the Snyder DC stuff, the villains all have a similar look. They just do. And I thought it, you know, I thought that could have been cooler, but it didn't take me out of the film because I thought they did so much stuff right that those things that could have been major to most people became very minor to me and my enjoyment of the film.
Okay. That's awesome. And I Jim's always brings it back to perspective. He's very reverend like that, like Chris Clow, which we'll get to him in one moment. I just got a couple things I want to add. First of all, I think the giant turd look is actually not bad. I actually think it looks cool, to be quite honest. So there, if I think poop looks cool, then Justin, then fine. That's fine with me.
You can't polish a turd, man.
You can, and he's called Dark Flash. So anyway,
and Dark Side. And
yeah, there you go. So I'm
hey, the Flash, Twitter just reached out and wanted to use your quote on on marketing.
Dark Flash is a polished turd. Paul Herman, the comic Binge. Give me a job.
You can't polish a polished turd. It's called Dark Flash.
Yes, you can. Paul Herman, comic Binge. Anyway, Javi, you're the resident Flash nut here. Is this the first time we have like a dark Barry Allen, and not including the Zoom character from the Wade run, but we're talking like an actual like alternate villain where it's a like a legit villain of like Barry Allen, an evil version from himself of like in this context, because I thought that was a pretty novel idea and a pretty inspired idea, to be quite honest. But am I wrong? Is this, yeah. So answer my question and then tell me your insight on Dark Flash.
You are wrong.
Okay.
Season 3 of the TV show.
I don't count the TV show,
dude.
All right.
They use Savitar.
It's called Comic Binge, not TV Binge, bro.
Yeah, come on, Javi.
If you've read, oh my God, it's not. Is it Dead Heat?
Is that?
It's. Anyways, there's a storyline with Savitar where they introduce him as like the god of speed, and Wally has to fight him, and it crossed over with Impulse. So when they brought him to the CW for season 3, which was launching off of the Flashpoint that Barry created, Savitar shows up and he's like this mystery character, and he looks a lot like Dark Flash, but just with more of a helmet, and he's about 3 feet taller. And as the season goes on, spoiler for like a 6-year-old show, you find out that Savitar is really a time remnant of Barry Allen, and his face is scarred, and he's going to kill Iris. That way Barry gets all bitter and jaded, and then, you know, completes the circle or something along those lines. So we've seen a darker Barry Allen become his own villain, basically, before in live action. Aesthetically, when I mentioned this, I think on the BOF podcast, that the first time I saw it on the toy aisle, like a couple of months ago, like I wasn't necessarily enthused with the look of it. And I thought maybe they were pulling some inspiration from the new 52 Reverse Flash, who's kind of got like a red suit with all these weird black pieces coming over him that are kind of like lava. So I thought maybe that's where they're going with, because I would just assume it was the Reverse Flash at the heart of this storyline because of the comic, which obviously wasn't the case here, at least as far as we know. So I like the idea behind it, but not necessarily crazy about the execution. Like everyone said, the Flash is like a phenomenal rogues gallery, and even the TV show didn't really do as much with the classic rogues as I would have liked. And it just always became like, for the most part, it was like, who's our speedster going to be this season that we're fighting against?
Yeah.
So really quickly, before I give it to Chris here, and he has the floor, I just want to say, you can't polish this turd, Justin. This is a turd that says, I am very, very
What
good.
is that, dude?
This is dark. This is Dark Flash. I don't know if you knew this, but this is Dark Flash.
Looks like a guy getting a Brazilian wax. You just have to pull it all off. And...
Maybe this is what has made him like so mad, is the Brazilian wax gone wrong. That's his origin story. It's Barry Allen. It's trying to fix the multiverse, and the Brazilian wax did not go right. So
makes sense.
It looks like a kid trying to make Legion of Doom like WWF like action figure.
Yeah,
like, shoulders custom. I don't know,
guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like this figure. Like, I legitimately
I did like how he got that from phasing incorrectly, and trying to phase with like an alien metal is what brought that about. Like, I like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
It's just the costume, it doesn't feel very flashy to me.
Yeah. He could have painted it yellow or something. I mean, he spray painted his Batman suit. He could have spray painted that one too.
But let's be real. This would have showed him to be like the villain. It would telegraph it complete, like Ryan said, like he figured it out like most people. But I actually, to be honest, I gotta tell you, this to me is a great villain. And I'm not, hold on, not even the movie, because here's my one criticism, and Chris, I'm gonna throw it to you in just 1 second. I will say, as much as I like the polished turd here, which I mean that I say that in jest, but I actually do. I actually like this character.
He looks shiny.
He looks cool. He looks cool. The bathtub figures, the DC bathtub figures are great, by the way. They articulate really well. Like, I'm into them.
Yeah. The
thing is this. I do think there's a potential in the comic books, and Javi, you can slap me around and call me silly all you want. But I'm going to tell you this right. I think this is a potential like awesome villain that you could have a recurring villain in the comics, in like some interpretation of this. So, because I think this
Cobalt Blue.
I don't know what that is. No, but I'm just saying, like, this is a very interesting potential character. I like this. I would say my one criticism would be he doesn't show up enough. Meaning, they try to do that whole like dream sequence, like, hey, don't forget this guy.
Forget that he's even a thing. Yeah,
exactly. I would say that's the one of my legitimate like gripes of the movie, is that, which I think is they should have went harder in the 4-hour cut. He probably is in it more, I'm assuming, but I do think he should have been in it more, because I think he looks cool. There could have been a cool dream sequence of like, of him fighting him somewhere, like they already kind of showed us in the movie. That would have been interesting. But anyway, I'm talking way too much. I wanted to give my thoughts on the polished turd here, which I like. Dark Flash.
Hey guys, I've actually got to bail. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, Jim. Jim, real quick, why don't you? We'll do one more quick thing for your plug your show, or plug your comic, and we'll head out of here. So tell us about everyone about your stuff. Yeah,
the Atonement Bell from Red 5 comes out on trade tomorrow. It collects all 4 issues, and really excited about it. We actually, as Paul mentioned earlier, got nominated for an Eisner for it, amazing, dude. Which is crazy. So, and Paul, real quick, I wanted to thank you for being kind enough to have me on and to talk with you guys, because it's always fun, and to also hype my stuff. I really appreciate it. Bro, you are the most real, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're always welcome, and I'm always going to promote you because you're an absolute baller, and I love you, man. Like, seriously, you're a good dude. Get out of here. You're awesome, and we'll talk to you soon, brother. Okay, see you guys. Good talking to you.
Hey, man. All right, we got Mr. Jim is gone. He's a great dude. Go out there, buy the Atonement Bell. It comes out tomorrow on trade. You can get it digitally, I believe, as well on all the normal platforms. We'll print those out. But yeah, Atonement Bell, go pick it up. Without further ado, we have the Reverend. Take it away, Reverend.
Oh, I thought you just said you were going to get back to me again in a second.
No,
it's okay. You can.
Wow,
he said it like 20 times.
Okay, Chris, we don't care about your.
Oh,
me now. All right. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
That's what happens when you fly too close to the sun. Look, I've kind of been dreading this. I've kind of been dreading coming
the
on
conversation or the movie.
The conversation, because I didn't have a chance to hear all of your perspectives, and I'm not really sure practically what more I can add to what you've already shared, because I know you guys. I know that you're very thorough. It's one of the reasons why we're friends.
All right, you can get out of here if you want.
You could have just not invited me, but anyway.
You're a co-host, you idiot! Like, what did I just say? Like, don't show up. Come on, you gotta show up today.
Access if you want, if you really wanted to.
Well, whatever.
But no, I mean, here's just some of the things that I'm working through already.
Okay.
The first appearance of Barry Allen in the DCEU, I already massively disagreed with the characterization. You know, like just like from the first time I laid eyes on him in BVS. It just seemed
that
like,
hairstyle was not my thing. I agree.
They're going for like a modernized kind of dude bro kind of a thing with Barry Allen. And I told all of you guys at different points in the past that for me, Barry Allen was always like the reliable veteran of the Justice League. He was always the guy who was an extraordinarily reliable, trailblazing hero who really set the tone for who the Flash was and who the Flash was supposed to be. Yeah. So I'm working through that. Then there's all the other stuff that is secondary to the movie that I honestly don't really care all that much about, but I can't say that it's not there. It's there, right?
Right.
And then there is, you know, like the invocation of a bunch of different components of the DC universe, how this movie has changed conceivably like a half a dozen times before we even get to see it. And then there is that, going through all of that, then you finally actually get to the movie, right? So watching the film for the first time was fun. I had a fun time with it, you know, like I made peace with the fact that this was a version of Barry Allen that didn't conform with what was in my head years ago, right? So I can put that aside and really just try and take the movie in on its own merits in terms of what the character is going through and what his journey will be, especially once we get on the other side of it. But, you know, on top of that, even again, stepping back before the movie, I have not seen, and I said this the other day, I have not seen such a polarized, so extreme reaction to a movie since December of 2017. I just haven't. It seems like people are either saying it's a legitimate masterpiece and are sort of falling under the same kind of rhetoric that David Zaslav is using, or it's the worst cinematic atrocity that has ever been committed to the screen. There's too much puking and eating and all these other things, you know, and I just kind of fall somewhere in the middle. You know, this is not the best DCEU film. This is certainly not the best DC movie we've had over the last 7 years, but it's far from the worst one. So in some respects, I see these reactions from people and I'm wondering like what the expectations were, how big of fans of the Flash were they before they went into it? Maybe where did they conjure their perceptions of who the character was supposed to be? What I wanted to do when Paul and I sat down for the first time that we watched the movie was just let the movie speak for itself. That's what I always try to do, you know, block out the noise as much as you can and just take it on its own merits. And on its own merits, I think you have a fun lead performance that has more dimension than I think people are giving it credit for. You have a very signature kind of design for the look of the movie that manages to evoke other directors in places where it's appropriate, but that also tries to bring sort of a more vibrant vision of comic book storytelling into the fold when the movie is fully berries. But like the flashback scene that took place during Black Zero and Metropolis, the color timing matches Man of Steel.
It looked like a Snyder movie then. Yeah.
It was kind of astonishing to me that it managed to and even tonally, right? Like what happened to that's like, that could have happened to Man of Steel, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's the criticisms with the visual effects and those
that's a thing.
People differently, Muschietti had said that it's a stylistic choice. There are a lot of people who don't believe him. I kind of just don't care. Like, this is what it's rendering. This is what it's showing me. This is what it's supposed to be. It is in the Speed Force, and we're seeing these other versions of the characters and these people that, clearly don't look really like people, but he's also in a bit of an altered state. So for me, it's just kind of par for the course.
Exactly.
But in terms of kind of just the story that the movie is telling, I always appreciate time travel stories that show an irreparable situation. I think the one that I've enjoyed the most, and you guys have all probably read it, was that issue of Jeff Johns' Booster Gold, where
haven't read it.
Booster tries to stop basically the killing.
In the 50 card card pickup.
Yeah, that was the run.
Is that in the Jeff Johns run?
Yeah, that on the Binge.
Yes, that is
good.
Yeah,
I need to take that out. It's on my in stock list. In stock, sponsor me, please.
Look, once we get on the other side of our 52 binge, we're going to have to do some of the aftermath stuff, including that. But I like the general message that comes with that, and I know some people seem to think that somehow devalues or makes the ending worthless, and it's just like, no, I don't think so, because this is the guy conceivably that we could be going, I mean, maybe now not so much sure thing, but this is the guy that we conceivably could be going on future adventures with. Those events have to matter to this principal character. Yeah. And I think they do. I think there's plenty of room to tell future stories if they were able to, about what the impact of the events of this movie were. But the supporting characters too, I was very fascinated by the way that Keaton's Batman was used. In fact, Rick Shue called me the day after I saw the movie, and it was funny because he's like, "I just don't know if I can get behind the spaghetti scene, man."
What?
And
dude, that guy was looking for validation all across the internet.
Well, you said you thought I would flip flopped it back and forth. Rick's a fish right now. He's every other day.
This was like the day after this was the Friday, so technically the opening day of the movie. So what I told him then, and what I truly do believe now, is like, just think about Batman Returns when he's sitting alone in the manor and he's got no life and all he's doing is waiting for the signal to light up the sky, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense to me that in that giant library he's reading the craziest shit that he could find, Some of that probably
like, War and Peace, F this.
Noodle theory time.
Right?
Yeah. So he's got like time travel in one hand and like Italian cookbook in the other. It's like
exactly like he's that kind of a guy. He was a weird guy.
You watch a lot of Sopranos,
he's getting nuts tonight.
Makes sense to me that like his brain goes there, and all of a sudden it's like, when did you become an authority on time travel and fulcrums last night? Because he could have.
Because
he ain't doing anything.
He's Batman, right?
Yeah, he's Batman. Yeah.
But it was also just really good to see him again.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I don't think anybody should deny. Oh, hey.
Oh, hi, Batman.
Say hi.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Hey.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Oh, look how cute she is. Hi, baby.
So,
hi.
I mean, it was really good to see him again. Yes. It was just, I think a lot of us that are Batman fans who maybe had our
Hi, Rachel.
Bye.
Okay. I think a lot of us who have been cinematic Batman. We just changed her bed to a toddler bed so she can.
I told him the story. Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, you're gonna have a podcast one day. Don't worry.
Oh, she will. Her and Lulu will both have a podcast. They both. I'm assuming they both.
Oh man.
But anyway, it's sort of, and people might not like this example when I bring it up, but
do it.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wasn't a great movie, but it was great to see Indiana Jones again. Right?
It was a fine movie. It wasn't the greatest.
The Flash.
See what happens a week from now.
Is a better movie than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I think.
Yes.
Oh, and yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean,
I didn't fall asleep in the Flash, at least.
Wow, Ryan.
It's true. I feel bad.
That's fair. You feel bad. I give you that.
So, I mean, I'm rambling a little bit. And I'm sorry about that,
Reverend. You got this, Reverend. Just keep cooking.
The movie itself was a fun experience for me. I can see why people might take certain issues with it, but I don't really empathize, I guess, with these rather harsh and kind of extreme perspectives that try and ascribe atrocity level to it. I just don't really see where those kinds of people are coming from. That doesn't. I mean, I'm not trying to discount their opinions, but it's just.
Yeah, me too.
I don't get it. I just I didn't love it as a masterpiece, and I didn't hate it as an atrocity, but I thought it was a pretty solid movie, considering that this was already a version of the Flash that isn't really in my head very much.
Chris,
agreed.
What it is, it's solid.
Chris, my question, because I loved it. I initially first bluff. You know, when we came out, I was like, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Do you? It sounds like you don't love it, but you like it. Do you like it a lot? Would you say, or do you like? What's your take? Give me. I know you like rating things. That's not really your thing, but I know you don't love it, but do you like it a lot at least, or do you like it?
Yeah, the reason I don't put scores in the reviews that I write is because I find that people just skip to the bottom and don't read any of the thoughts that lead up to it. I like
you're not wrong. Right? And that's what I do.
I need to sit with it more, and I probably need to see it a couple more times. But here's the thing: I'm willing to. You know, like I'm not.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
I'm going to predict it right now. I think this will turn into one of your more not favorite, but one of the better DC movies for you. I think eventually over time.
I'm open to the possibility. Here's the coldest take on the planet. The best movie that DC has made in the past 7 years is The Batman.
Well, no,
it's not an opinion. That's the scientific fact.
That's not subjective.
But it seemed like there were people who were expecting it to outdo that. And here's another thing that I think is absolutely worth considering, and this is bringing more of those external components back into the conversation. Considering how much crap that Andy Muschietti had to deal with at levels way above his pay grade.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Just the ending alone.
The ending alone, on top of everything else that we probably don't even know about. It's astonishing that the movie turned out as good as it did.
No kidding.
Yeah. I told as much. I said that.
Okay.
So if people want to burn his name in effigy about The Brave and the Bold, they should really reconsider that perspective, because I think he's more than earned his keep.
His Batman stuff was phenomenal.
I didn't even mention that. Affleck Batman in The Flash was the best appearance of Affleck Batman. Batman
disagree on
was my head version of a DC Universe Batman.
Yes.
Like that was what I like to see from a DC Universe Batman.
Okay, there's the worst suit.
Yeah, so there's a couple things we're going to talk. Yeah, it was terrible, but I not my favorite take of Affleck's Batman, to be quite honest. But you bring up a great point about Andy Muschietti, and people have been about the CGI. I'm going to throw it to you guys here in a second about this, because this is where I would say I'm aghast of and just totally flabbergasted of what's going on with ones criticizing the special effects, Andy's directing, all that stuff. It's weird. First of all, about Andy Muschietti, that dude directed a hell of a movie. And I may say that because he incorporated a very complicated story, and the pacing of that movie of getting us from point A to point B in over 2 hours.
Really good.
I never felt the length once. And
Mhm.
I think after seeing it and the sequel to it, then the sequel to it gets a lot of crap. And I think that's not all on him. That's just the story where it goes. And he just did the story the best
He
he could.
continued his trend of good casting of kids in this movie.
Yeah. So I say all that to say that I think when I look at it and Flash, I'm like, I'm all about give me the Brave and the Bold with Damian Wayne, because I'm not a Damian Wayne guy, but if there's one guy who can do it and pace a pretty fun movie and like have it be, you can get dark and get interesting and get dramatic. And that's one thing that people are not talking about this movie is I think the pacing is one, no one talks about it that much. And it pisses me off because I think Andy did a phenomenal job. And also what Chris said, considering too, that all the crap that he had to deal with before the movie even made, before Ezra's even problems, this movie was in development hell. And the fact that he got signed on, we all said, well, we'll believe it when we see it. And he got it done. Yeah. He was the only director and guy, creative force out there that was able to sit down with his sister and direct the hell and make this movie happen, even despite Ezra Miller's, problems that were going on during whatever. He was able to get Ezra on the same page with everyone, which it seemed like maybe would have been an issue with previously. So,
and I don't say this very often, but kudos to Warner Brothers for recognizing the work that he put into it by giving him this additional job.
And that's what I was going to lead with, is I think that this is more of a like, you know what, you've proven, we know you can do a great work and you've done great work. And because to me, The Flash is like Solo. It is a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm of problems that.
So the Star Wars story.
Yeah.
I was thinking just before the show, I was like, man, like 10 years from now, people are gonna be like, you got to apologize to Solo and the Flash, and that's like a quintessential double feature in my head.
Yeah,
they're in the exact same boat for me.
I love Solo.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I think most of us. I mean, Chris, I think you like Solo, but I love Solo. I just rewatched it with my daughter, like bits and pieces that throughout the weekend, and she loves it. I love it. And I'm like, man, this is such a fun sit down, just relaxing. And in the Flash, it's a little more heavy, but at the same time, I would say like, again, the pacing, like Ron Howard, he directed the hell out of that movie in a short amount of time. And it does great work. Andy Muschietti, and this is what I was going to add here, and I'll throw it to you guys here about Brave and the Bold. I would say the one thing that people don't talk about enough, we talk about the performances, right? And we all know Ezra Miller, they are amazing. Like they are a force of nature with acting. I don't know about their personal life or whatever, and that's a whole different thing. And you can hate on them for what's going on, and whatever. What I will say is that yes, Ezra Miller did a phenomenal job as Flash, but like to be honest, after seeing it and the sequel, I think Andy Muschietti might be a big reason why, to be honest. I think Andy he gets great work out of his actors. And I watch it and I'm like, man, it rules. And even the sequel, which has some problems, again, it's not the acting, it's not really directing, it's just the story. And I think it's more of like Stephen King's book. Andy did a phenomenal job. And I'm going to say this right now. I think Ezra was elevated by Andy. I think Ezra already has that, but Andy has a tendency, I think, for me, when I've seen his work, to bring these out of actors. And some of the moments in this movie are so powerful that I think that both Ezra and Andy are the reason. It's a scene where the biggest emotional scene for me is when young Crappy Berry, I'll call him Crappy Berry, polished Turdberry, is like talking about stuff, and then regular Berry just snaps. And he goes, you have no idea how good you have it. And he just snaps at him. And he's like, you have all this stuff. And and they brought the whole like lighthearted thing with the monkey. You're using monkey as a dartboard. Ezra's performance it's not like over the top enough, but it's powerful enough. You're like, oh God, like, you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was pretty good. I'm like, damn. And it really hit me. Like, I really felt like that moment when he says, you have no idea how good you have it. Like, I have never lost a parent yet, and Lord knows the day it's going to suck when that happens. But I can project other things of my life that he says that, and I know how he feels. And just the way he said it wasn't like super nasty and raw like I would be, but like it's there. And I just loved it. And I think this movie has so many great moments like that no one talks about it, and it pisses me off that people say this movie's just. I'm just like, you're crazy. Like, this is great. This is emotional stuff, man. Like, this is not just the ending where that's a whole different thing. This is crazy good stuff. So I think Andy Muschietti is going to direct the hell out of a Brave and Bold movie. I know some of the people we know may not be keen on this version of Batman that we might be getting eventually, but I think Andy Muschietti has proven that he's going to get great performances. And there's a great father-son story in The Brave and the Bold somewhere, which we all know is in the comics, and we'll cover on the binge one day. But I'm going to say this right now. I think will it be as big as the Batman? It remains to be seen, but I think it'll be successful enough to where it'll warrant it. I'm going to throw it to Ryan. I'm throw it to resident Batman person here. Get your take on Andy and Brave and Bold real quick.
I have a very wait and see kind of approach to it. I think he'll do a fantastic job directing it. I think he's a great director. For me, I am not really interested in any of James Gunn's DCU announcements, like, at all. I'm just like,
I didn't know that.
I'm just like, I'm super wait and see. And I was very wait and see for Matt Reeves' Batman too. I wasn't hyped for it until the second I sat down in the theater, and I was like, I just want to watch the thing and see if it's good. And the clean slate approach for the DCU is good, but we've got all this lineup. We've got all the descriptions of what all the movies are going to be, and I don't know. I mean, I hear the description of Batman Brave and the Bold and Batman and Damian, and I'm like, I don't know. That's not my favorite version of that character. I don't know if that's going to be what I want to see on screen. I don't know. Like, Styles, show me more later.
But do you think this movie has given you any kind of confidence in the director? I mean, maybe it doesn't. Yes. I don't know.
And you're already like making me a little bit more excited to see to realize that he's a great choice for it, because he's got the experience with the superheroes and the Batmans and that kind of thing, but also the really good performances out of kid actors in the It movie. So, like, if that's kind of the core dynamic of a Brave and the Bold with Batman and Damian, then it's going to be really interesting, and it'll be in good hands. But my personal excitement level is not.
That's fair. That's
whatever.
Fair. All right. So, Javi, man, what's your take on Andy Muschietti's directing overall, and are you excited for Brave and the Bold?
That's really complicated right now. I'm a little worried, given how The Flash is being received, where we're going to be a year or 2 years from now with a DCU on film period, other than the Batman. But in terms of how I felt about this movie, I think I'm very similar to your thoughts on how he's proven himself with child actors, and he's proven himself with the Batman side of things from this movie, to where he handles all the various tones of the movie exceedingly well. Because there's so many different elements of different genres in this film, from the time travel to the alien invasion to the more kind of pulpy superhero to the comedic elements to then the more dramatic stuff. Like, there is so much going on in this movie. And I've seen people say how it's like tonally inconsistent, but like, that's not how life works. No one's life is just one tone, and there can be multiple tones in a story. It's
Stop
how
making
it's
sense,
all,
Bobby. Stop making
how
sense.
It's all put together. So when I heard the news, like Thursday night when it broke that he was doing it, I was ecstatic that it wasn't just like some rumor on Twitter or YouTube. Yeah, like, it was a Variety article that announced it, and it was like right when we got home from seeing it with the kids. So I was pretty excited for it. In terms of the whole Damian Wayne Batman thing, I know Peter's going to give me hell for it, but Batman R.I.P. is one of my top 5 favorite Batman stories.
Ryan Lauer's rolling in his grave.
Oh, I know he is. He brings it up every time. But so for me to see some kind of aspect of that brought to life, I'm really excited for, because if you're trying to do something comic accurate, like, we're never going to get to the 5th Robin anytime.
We're not
for a movie. So if we're going to skip ahead and get to this, I'm all for it. I'm just more interested to see where we go as Batman. I'm certainly not opposed to getting a legacy Batman actor back. But I doubt that's going to be the way they're going to go at this point.
I agree.
Oh, no way.
It's probably for the best too that we do
absolutely
start over and just make a clean break from everything. But I'm excited for it. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I love the Batman. That's probably my favorite Batman movie.
Same here.
And I want to see more in that world, but at the same time, it's like some days I read Batman, some days I read Detective, some days I bust out with the Shadow of the Bat. So
Javi,
I like having these cinematic options.
You are definitely, me and you are so much alike like that. I love it. So, and I love your comment, by the way, the comment to Bill the other day. He said, I have my cake and eat it too. It's exactly what it is. You can have both. That's the whole point that's what makes Batman a great character. Justin, what's your take on the directing of Andy Muschietti in the movie, and how's does that make you less excited, more excited, indifferent about this Brave and the Bold movie he's going to be making?
Oh, I'm excited. I mean, I don't like to totally hop on the hype train too quick, because I feel like, then you get disappointed. But
sure.
Like with Matt Reeves, I was like, I saw Cloverfield. I like that. I saw the Apes movie, but I wasn't like,
and you did like the Batman at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I did like it. But here's where I'm excited. I've seen enough solo Batmans. I want to see the Bat family, and so I'm excited about
Same
that.
With you, man. Mm-hmm.
I want to see I think like comic fans on Twitter are really funny, because they jump to these crazy conclusions that's a word.
Fun,
right? They jump to conclusions that it's just gonna be a pie in the face Batman 1966 take, and I go, what? Have you read any of these stories? Have you read any of these stories? Like,
because George Clooney's the Batman now until they prove otherwise.
George Clooney is not the Batman.
He's the Batman.
Yeah, that's just, I don't even want to like acknowledge those arguments, because they come from like a certain sector of like just like entitlement and just bad takes. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to add to what you said, because Batman and Robin, Morrison and Quitely's Batman and Robin, was the 60s Batman show as if it was made by David Lynch.
Yes.
I mean,
wow.
You can have
that's the full quote right there.
I mean, how many people have heard someone laugh at a funeral? Speaking to Javi's point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you can have all of these things.
Not great.
There you go. Have all these things. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. I just think, but I love the idea of Muschietti. I loved all the Batman stuff, like you were saying, Chris. I came to see the Flash because I wanted to see more Michael Keaton Batman. I mean, that was my number one reason, right?
I get it. That's fair. Yeah,
it's your number one.
But I left. One of the things I posted was like, man, it made me hungry for more Affleck. Like I wanted to see more of his Batman. That's how much I enjoyed like what he gave me, and so I'm hoping I feel like that's the kind of a Batman we're gonna get. We're gonna get more of this heroic, Batman who, he's still dark and brooding. Batman's a dark and brooding guy. That's who he is. Like that's how we know him in a modern sensibility, right? Like I don't think we're ever going to get the Adam West stuff again, and I love that. It's reverent to me.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
But moving forward, I don't think we're going to go as dark as like Bale and Pattinson stuff, but I think you're going to get kind of like a nice go between the Keaton and Batfleck stuff that we got, and so I'm excited for that. I want to see the Bat family so bad, because it's like, you're right. If we were ever going to see like a family, we're going to need a TV show, and they're obviously not going to give that to us. So maybe we need
one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like as comic fans, we always want the canon. We want the canon, and we want to see Nightwing, and we want to see, Jason, and we want to see Tim and all that stuff. And
they canceled that one too.
Yeah, but one of the things James Gunn said was like he's approaching the DC universe like Star Wars. So maybe we go back in time on a film. So maybe there's a film that comes out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, oh shoot, maybe we get the Flying Graysons at some point. But like for this, we're gonna jump all the way to now, and we're gonna have Bruce and Damian, and I'm cool. And like even someone put it in the chat, like, and I don't know if it was a joke or not, but it was like, hey, if Brave and the Bold isn't heavily effects driven, which I doubt. Like, I don't think, like, again, the effects thing is I don't know where to land on that. I think that if the effects in the Flash were supposed to be his, Barry Allen's like vision of how things look when he's running around, they should have shown us what it looks like when he's like from our perspective. So we should have saw some, maybe the babies look more realistic from the girl's perspective, and when he's catching them, like, oh, there's a discrepancy there. We get it, and so I think it's hard to swallow that excuse. But I don't think he's a bad effects. Like,
not
I don't think
close.
he's.
That's not
look what he did. Like
that's a different.
That's kind of. And I feel like, that's a weird nerd thing they can't get over. So
I want to talk about that real quick.
Batman sequence of it.
Yeah. Well.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about that for a second because I don't get, like, the baby thing. Like, listen, they're not real. I love the fact they went for a really big, ridiculous thing like the baby sequence. Like, they're fake. They looked CGI at times, or most of the time. What are you gonna, like, whatever? Like, give me something different. That never bothered me. I can understand where people didn't like that. Where I take umbrage with is the fact that when the whole, like, the perspective of him in the bubble, right, where he's like going back in time and he sees all these different caricatures of time, and people are like, I don't understand this. This doesn't look. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, this, they can't just
bubble. The bubble looked fine to me. I didn't have issue.
Well, the bubble. Yeah, well, but the people outside.
You know what they looked like? They actually looked like
they're like caricatures of people.
They actually looked like, if you want to go back to like Man of Steel, and I think even at the end of BVS, like when they showed the gray, like,
the gray thing. Yes.
It looked very much like what Zack Snyder did with like the storytelling of Krypton,
exactly.
like when he was in there. So it looked like that, and so
people didn't criticize that.
But well, I just think if I had to be fair in my criticism and critique of that, is like, they should, if that's the reason things look like that, you have to show us why, because it does. If you're just a guy who wants to, like, be upset about it, you're gonna say, look at those effects, they don't look right. Well, they did look weird, but I'm glad I read his quote, because it gave me that, like, I would have been like, why does everything look so weird? I didn't think it's because he's running fast. It was because he explained that to me. But there was nothing visually communicated in the film that showed me that's why things looked like that. I think
you bring up a great point that maybe they even said it, like, or maybe Barry explains it to younger Barry, like, why does things look so weird when you run?
Yeah, why does everything look like plastic?
No, that'd be great. Right? That would have been great. Even when people are shut up, I guess I'm like, this is purposeful. To me, it was obvious. I think Andy Muschietti probably thought it was obvious, but maybe he didn't make it that. Whatever, right?
I think I don't think it was the right call. Like, coming, like, knowing how everyone's like seen it, no one's getting it, and so it's not a good call.
Chris, I'll throw it to you. I'll end this, and we have a couple more things, and we'll end the show. You guys, you've been very gracious with your time. Thank you. I want to say that I think that the biggest mistake was coming out and saying something in general.
Yeah,
because if they would have shut up and just been like, you know what, they can this, because people, what they use that to be like, because I there's things I subscribe to YouTube now. They're like, Andy Muschietti says that you're supposed to accept bad CGI. It's like, that's the headline, and people are gonna click on that. I'm serious, and that's bad faith. But people don't care. They want to get their clicks. They want to get their money.
But most of them are like the associate producer cats who. That's just what they're going to stand on. It's like, all right, fine, bro. Like,
I get it, but not just those people, Justin. That's other people. So I feel they should have just been away from it. Chris, you want to add on this? And I have two more things that we'll have subjects. We'll wrap it up after that.
Well, I just wanted to quickly touch on the Dark Flash's costume, because I know that
the polished turd.
The word turd has been used a few times over the course of this conversation, and it's funny how you come around again on certain things, because way back in the modern media days, when we were all pretty much, at least everybody on that panel was pretty much defending Green Lantern, the one thing that most people agreed on was that
it looks pretty good in retrospect.
Oh god,
floating space turd,
right? I'm sorry, Dark Flash looks way better than that. Thank you very much.
Just an observation. That the DC cinematic circle is now complete of turd villains.
Oh man!
Wow,
I forgot about that guy.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
As soon as Muschietti was announced for the movie, I was pretty confident that it would turn out okay. So the idea of him doing a new universe-centric version of Batman is not something that gives me pause.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what the movie is. I mean, Ryan and I sat on a BOF podcast, the first edition of Fandom, where it's just we were both kind of talking about how, geez, this Batman is like, he's totally going to kill people, right? Like, it looks like he's totally going to absolutely brutalize everybody on screen, and that's going to be the kind of Batman we're going to see. And the movie didn't deliver that. I mean, you saw a brutal Batman, but you also saw the heart of Bruce Wayne front and center in that story.
Yeah.
So I'm not in the tank for what the movie is going to be. I've wanted to see a shared universe Batman movie for a very long time. So on that basis, I'm looking forward to it. But no, I'm just, hoping for the best when it comes to that. Okay. I think there's a lot. He has demonstrated quite an acumen when it comes to evoking the DC Comics universe, I think.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, the last couple of things was, and again, everyone on the East Coast and Central, you guys are amazing. Ryan, you're a trooper, and I super appreciate and love you, bro. Like, I'm so glad you're on the show. I need to have you on more. I know you're busy doing your thing, so you just gotta
pick the right Tuesday.
I did. See, I told you in advance.
I told you. Told me 3 weeks in advance. I'm like, I know that one I can do.
All right. See, and this is my boy. So
we gotta play Gotham Knights together.
We do. We all do. Mm-hmm. We all do. And I just want to say thank you, Ryan. We need to get you on more, brother. So miss you. So we'll talk about the Supergirl, and then we'll kind of do some rapid final thoughts, or if anything else I forgot that Chris you may want to bring up. But Javi, tell me what you think about Sasha Cole. Is that her? Am I saying her name right? What do you think about her Supergirl, and do you think that she should be the Supergirl they go with going forward? I'll get my thoughts in a second, but I want to get you first.
I really liked her in the role. I thought she did good with the material that she had, which the downside of that is it wasn't much. She had very little time to convey her character arc of, and she's adapting the Project Superman storyline from Flashpoint.
Yeah.
So she's got to be, more mistrustful of people because that's her contact, and then come around because of how Barry is. So I think going back to like an earlier subject we were talking about, like why Zod is the reason why you get a Superman involved, because it's not quite as defined. They just needed like a heavy hitter for their team, but by having like, Zod is here, well, the only one who can fight a Kryptonian is the Kryptonian who beat him. Like that gives a little more motivation for why they need to go find Superman, I think, other than hey, let's just get the band together. I thought she was really good in what we saw. I would love to see her go forward. If we stuck with the original plan, like I'd be all about seeing more of her Supergirl. But given how this is just apparently falling on its face with the general audience, I think it's just better to wipe all ties, unfortunately, and start from scratch. But I mean, in a perfect multiverse, we're all going in 2 years to see her on the big screen again.
That's fair. Ryan, what's your take on Supergirl?
I really liked Supergirl. I mean, I'm pretty much right there with Javi. What she did just fine with what she was given. It's props to the script and the screenplay that like every line of dialogue really isn't wasted.
Exactly.
The scene she's in, the information that gets said and done and the way it's acted is really good, and it all holds up, but it's disappointing to me that the ending, like I really like the Clooney ending, but man, I really wish I could have seen those other two endings, because I really didn't like the fact that the movie ends with Keaton dead and Supergirl dead. Like, and she got even less of a send off than Michael Keaton. At least Keaton got a nice like, arc and lines and things, and she just got stabbed in the chest, and then it's done.
Yeah.
So, but I don't have any preconceived notions about, oh, she's got to be in the James Gunn Supergirl movie, because I don't even know what that is. That could be anything. Like, I wouldn't want that. And it's way less about like her in the role and more about like what that new interpretation needs to be. You know.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then whatever they need to do.
Chris Clow. Sorry. Justin, would you want to add? Sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought Justin, you were saying something. Chris, what do you think about Supergirl?
I thought she was great. I think that considering the journey that she went through, her anger was certainly justified. It seemed like, honestly, a leaner and maybe punchier role for the Kryptonian character in this movie when compared with what we saw from Project Superman in the original story. Because I mean, like, he came through in the end, but it was very like, I don't know, it was like in and out. You weren't totally sure, and maybe that added to the suspense for some people. But I was rather kind of just disappointed with I thought the concept was so strong for Flashpoint to have them break Superman out of government confinement. I didn't really feel that paid off in the way that I would have preferred in the original story, but I like what they did here quite a bit. Okay. So on top of that, there's really kinetic Kryptonian action that I'm always going to be here for.
It was awesome. Yeah.
So, I thought she was solid. I think the chances of her showing up again are slim to none,
unfortunately,
which is disappointing. But considering Paul, I mean, you mentioned right when we came out of the theater, the presence that she had.
Yeah, she has a lot of presence.
That's absolutely the case. So, yeah, at least we have this one, and if we don't get anything else.
I'll follow up those thoughts after Justin. Justin, go ahead and give me your thoughts on Supergirl.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was fine. She had more lines than Henry Cavill ever did, I guess.
Damn, I knew. She's all right, I guess, better than Henry Cavill.
I mean, I think Ryan was saying it's her whole point in this film was to die. That she didn't really have any. I felt like that's what it was. Like, she was there, and then she never really interacted with Batman. It would have been kind of like cool to see some kind of like, he was like, oh, so there's Superman.
They trade a look. I mean, that's about all you get.
And they probably weren't even in the same room when they filmed that. Like, so I wish there was more, because like for me to care about her I'm like, okay, she died, and I wasn't even like thinking about the ending of her story, because I was so moved by like Batman's story, like that part to me was like, him saying you already did, you did save me, or you did rescue me, or whatever it was, like, at the end, that was like, oh man, moved me. I'm like in tears, like in this theater. My wife's laughing at me. Bro. I'm like, oh, freaking Michael, my hero died, right? I didn't even think about Supergirl, and unfortunately, like, y'all said, like, with this movie not moving the needle much, I don't think they're like trying to like bring her back for like Woman of Tomorrow. So that's just kind of how I feel.
I think I agree with almost everything you guys have all said. The one thing I'm going to say that, and Chris already mentioned, was I think she's got a lot of presence, and if she doesn't become Supergirl, I bet someone makes her into an action star, because she has, in action stars, you have to be able to do the physical stuff and be believable. But you also have to have that presence. Like any movie star out there, you have to have a presence, and it goes beyond just being a good actor. Because I think Arnold is a great example of that. I'm not saying she's a bad actress either, but like, he has a presence.
I was literally about to say, like, if they hadn't tried to reboot Terminator like 3 times badly, like,
right,
she would be great in a Terminator movie.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a certain presence to an action star that you need to have, and even like Gal Gadot has that a little bit in her. She's not the greatest thespian, and this is not against Gal. She just has a great presence to her that makes her a good actress, because because she's beautiful. But I mean, like, it goes beyond beauty, and Sasha is also beautiful, but it goes beyond beauty. I was really impressed with the little she had. She carried everything, and just how she did carries herself physically. I was like, damn, like that's the one thing that I would say that I think gives us some hope, or me some hope, I'd say, of being the woman of tomorrow, is that there is something about her. What's that?
That's what her symbol means.
I hate you so much.
You gives you hope.
Like give me hope, Justin. Hope for the polished turd. But like I do think that there is, because that's the one thing I would say. Most people have said mostly positive things about her overall, I think, as a whole. And I think that the little bit we saw, like, it was pretty rad. So I mean, I could see her being the woman of tomorrow if they kind of, because I don't think people are going to be like, I'm not watching this movie, she was in the Flash, because obviously not a lot of people have seen the Flash. Yeah. So I mean, what's that going to matter?
Was she in the Flash?
God damn it. So great point though. I mean, I think it's because she's done so well just from my own eye, I could totally see it happening, but that's just me. So let's, before we wrap up, is there anything that we want to touch on real quick before we say goodbye to everybody and our final thoughts?
I'm really stoked for the resurgence of Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly. That was
pretty cool. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I love that. That was great.
That was a deep cut.
Beeves.
Yeah,
right?
The Beeves was amazing too. I love the Beeves. It's Beeves, and he's like, "What?" And it's like, "Yes, it's so good."
Do you really mean that?
Yeah.
Really haven't talked a lot about the score.
Score solid.
Yeah,
score solid. I like the score.
I thought he did
superhero
a really good
scores
job
are not great usually.
Blending, the different types of music. You got like a little bit of Zimmer, you got your Elfman, you got your Silvestri.
What is this guy? What is your problem, Chris?
You just said superhero scores aren't good usually.
They aren't. What?
You're going off of the
Marvel
hit or miss track record of the MCU. Let's not apply it to the entire genre.
Okay, besides Batman movies,
Tyler Bates, Guardians of the Galaxy theme is amazing. I love
John Williams.
Okay, modern superhero theme.
That was used in 2017.
You know what? This is a different podcast. This is not the comic binge.
Silvestri. Where are you?
Okay. All right. I stand corrected. There are some great stuff. It's usually not great. It's usually 60% of it's not great.
Scores usually aren't great.
Anyway, Javi, continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
know that.
Elco's
You gotta do a show.
Come on now.
Top 10 superhero scores.
Javi, cook, Chris. Come on.
Top 10.
No, that I made my point.
Okay,
well, then we got
so
it. It's all good. I thought it was a great score.
Right, we're gonna pull a Rick True. All right, guys, top 10 musical scores.
Oh yeah. Let's do an interlude for the show and do real quick top 5.
Or Paul's gonna pull out his contrarian card and be like, "Dude, the score for Quantumania was amazing."
Shut up. Whatever.
Oh, man.
I have said very few great things about scores for Marvel films, and I'm a Marvel zombie.
There's not much to say.
I mean, come on. I can't polish a turd.
4 memorable. They have 4 memorable scores, but
Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme is standard. It's a great theme. So
it's really good. Really, really good.
Anyway,
I'm right with Javi about the score.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was the whole point of my, I keep saying I feel bad. I feel bad that I didn't buy the whole soundtrack. The fact Benjamin Wallfish, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
He really did have a big job ahead of him because he did have to blend Keaton Batman theme and Man of Steel theme, and those themes work really well and it puts you back in those moments, like when Kara has to confront Zod, you feel like, oh, I'm in Man of Steel mode, and when Keaton's doing Keaton stuff, you feel like you're in that. And the good thing is that his Flash did end up having a pretty good theme. It's just unfortunate that we've had 2 competing versions of Justice League before this that kind of bungled a good Flash theme, where they could have either just reused like the Danny Elfman's. I thought surely Danny Elfman would just use his original Flash theme in Justice League 2017, and he didn't. And he did use his Batman theme, which is just really weird. And then Junkie XL's score just kind of was a score. It didn't for ZSJL. It didn't really give. for ZSJ for Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, I like his Zack Snyder's Justice League score more than I like his BVS score. Which Wonder Woman's theme is good though. I'll give him that. That's a solid
BVS.
Theme.
Yeah,
BVS.
Not the
yeah. But so the fact that Wallfish had to like blend a bunch of things, I feel did kind of reduce the amount of like uniqueness that this movie score as a score could feel. But as a I don't want to say hodgepodge, but it balanced all that stuff and had its own identity more than a similar like Elfman's Justice League, for example, that had to do similar heavy lifting of all these different parts.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the score I thought was definitely it was definitely better than normal. There was just a lot of needle drops in that movie that I think that they could have held back on a little bit. But that's just me.
Oh, I like we are young. Who the heck is that from? You should know this, Paul.
Funhouse?
Not Funhouse. When they were singing when Barry was out running around, like we are, yeah.
But is it fun? Is it fun with a period?
Not the band Fun. No, we are young. We are free. We are.
The first song isn't bad. I like that was a cool like needle drop where he's running. Yeah. That was cool. I thought. It's just a little too many. Like it just kind of wish they would have held back a little bit. But anyway,
several of them were diegetic though. I like the idea of the music actually, like the needle drop music, actually showing up in the scene, and then I always appreciate good use of diegesis.
There you go. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for all coming on and giving us your time.
Sorry.
Oh, Supergrass. Was it Supergrass?
Yeah, that's what I
thought.
The first
song was Supergrass.
No, the one where he was out running around like young Barry when he got his powers.
Oh yeah, dude, I have a Supergrass record, or I had a long time ago.
You haven't listened to that one.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I like
OK Go in the end credits.
With the dog can we talk about the end credit scene?
No, this is stupid.
I hated it.
It's bad.
I feel like it was such a disservice to heroes, to Aquaman. It was like, why would I want to watch Aquaman 2? This guy's such a loser.
Yeah, the end credit scene is not great.
My wife was not happy we stayed for that. She's like,
Aquaman will return.
Yeah,
it's like
did it say that?
No, but I'm glad it didn't, because that would have been like the worst.
Should have.
Yeah, it was. No. Yeah, it was just such a weird. Like, you're gonna end this film, this kind of emotional roller coaster of a film with like drunk Aquaman in the gutter, and like my son was just like, "Why is Aquaman drunk all the time?" I'm like, "Well, because that's who he is." It was just like not a didn't leave a great taste in my mouth.
They like set it up to where like, oh, we didn't show this during CinemaCon and we didn't do it during the IMAX screenings because it's like this big thing. And knowing that we're headed towards like a reboot and what Flashpoint is, you know, it just fell flat. Like you could walk out and not miss anything. And
I
did.
Could have shown us who won the race between him and Superman.
I don't know if this came up in the conversation, so please stop me if it has. But I would love to know from all of you guys: do you find this or the Flashpoint paradox a better adaptation of this story?
I won't see it, so I'm going to say the movie. This movie.
I haven't seen that animated show in a while. I just talked about it with Lauer. Like, I think when I watched it, it was fine. I just never liked that animation style, and so it was always hard for me to get into.
I got more emotion out of this movie. I think the themes transferred a little bit better to me, and then as a piece than although the animated one is fun and gets the comic book. I like the movie.
But just read the comic at that point. Then why watch the movie? Comic.
No, I agree with you guys because I actually really didn't like that movie. So
it's like the Hush adaptation.
Oh, the Hush is so bad.
It's bad, man. It's so bad.
You win some, you lose some. Swing and a miss.
And like, listen, I know everyone's like, "Long Halloween's really good." It's like, why don't you just read the comic? Read the comic.
They made some weird changes in it though, man.
Yeah,
they did.
Let me tell you this. This is why the Long Halloween's not as good as the comic, because it's Tim Sale. Enough said. Anyway,
that's fair.
I like Jeff Loeb though. Guys, thank you so much. obviously, Chris, you're obligated to be with me, so you have no choice in this. But everyone else, thank you so much. Like, you guys coming on, being on here for a super long time, talking to my dumb ass is super. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. It's super rad, and you guys are rad, and love all you guys. Seriously, this has been awesome. All of you guys pimp yourself out. Give me your last final thoughts on the Flash and kind of going out, and I'll start. What do we got here? Let's start with you, Ryan. Let's start with you. Let's go with you first. What's your? Why don't you tell people your final thoughts and where we can find you and what you got going on?
Final thoughts for the Flash is strong B+.
Okay.
I didn't get too much into the VFX, but the VFX did kind of tank it for me, sadly.
Wow. I hate you.
Yeah. But but I'm excited to see this movie again. I've seen it 3 times.
Dang.
Nice. Got to see it at the early screening, and then I saw it 2 times over opening weekend. So I think that's a good sign. And I already pre-ordered the Blu-ray. I think it comes out in September. And I really hope that we get to see deleted scenes, and they've already said there's more Keaton stuff. We know there's more endings that didn't get shown. I hope they we know they exist, so they just show them, or people start hashtag campaigns and we'll never hear the end of it. So, Batgirl stuff's been leaking the past couple of days, and I'm even more upset seeing how good some of that stuff actually looked. So yeah, it's sad that this will be the definite wind down of that era, because there's still some stuff on the table that I do want to see because it's there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
find you.
I feel excited about it's good that we were talking about this movie as much as we are. I feels like this is the one that we're gonna keep talking about compared to a lot, 75% of the other DCU movies. I don't feel like a lot of the other ones will stay in the conversation as much as this one has.
I 100% agree with you. As much money as Aquaman made, I don't think people talk about it that much.
Sure.
For a good reason. I like Aquaman, and I love the costume at the end. I'm scared to death.
It's cut and dry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you can find me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan and my Mario Brothers movie archive website.
The original, the OG movie.
Mm-hmm.
Not this animation business.
Trust the fungus.
Trust the fungus, man. That's right.
Yeah.
Ryan, you're a baller as always.
Thank you.
I did it again, Javi. The El Corazon, I should say. I did it again. I'm just gonna say it. The people who speak Spanish are like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
That's fair. But no. Give us your final thoughts on the Flash and all the amazing things you're doing.
Overall, I really loved it. It's sometimes you see a movie and it's like, oh, like this part is good, but this part I'm going to skip on rewatches. It played really well for me the second time through. I wasn't bored at all. I wasn't waiting to get to like this moment or that moment. I haven't really gelled with Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, but I like what he did here, playing both versions, like a more mature version and more impulsive version, if you will, and how that all worked out. And that this Barry faced consequences and saw the consequences of his actions instead of waiting 4 years and weird crossovers later to understand what actually went down. So it was very satisfying for me as a Flash fan, and to see the way that they depicted his powers. You can argue the bowl aside and the babies and whatnot, but like seeing him phase through the wall, like he would, like they've explained in the comic books, how the different molecules interacted, and just him running at the beginning. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And Michael Keaton is just, it's not my favorite Batman, like the one I think of when I read the comics, but it's always going to have like a very special place in my heart, because that was the one that came out on my 12th birthday and kind of set me on this super comic book fan thing. And I remember all that hype from '89, and this is only giving us a small fraction of that excitement for a lot of different reasons. Part of it being just a different world, and how we're not getting to see like a lot of the the TV show circuits and everything.
Yeah.
But just, for a moment, I went from being 45 to being 12 again, and I had my hero back. I never would have thought we'd see this again. And I'd much rather, so him dying in the movie, like, it didn't faze me because I'd seen the set photos. I knew, well, he's going to come back at the end. It's going to get undone. So it didn't bother me. And then on second watch through, it's like, oh, wait, they're dead. They're not coming back.
Yeah.
So then from that, like, my perspective changed because I'm very tired of seeing my heroes die on the big screen. That seems to be all the rage lately. But at the other side of it, like, I do appreciate how this Batman went out. Like, Frank Miller's Batman's always looking for a good death. And this was a good death for Michael Keaton because he was up against insurmountable odds. Everyone talks about Batman can't fight aliens because he would die. Well, he did.
Yeah,
but it didn't stop him from being, the hero. Like, there's a line in Morrison's Batman where Gordon's like, why did you take on this foe that's bigger than, all of us? And he's like, same reason you do. I figured I could take him. Like, that's Batman. And Michael Keaton embodied that. So if this is it, if this is the last time we get to see him, I'd much rather see him go out feeling full Batman than, the downer ending of having a cat by himself at Christmas time.
Yeah.
So just all around, I love this movie. I can't wait to go see it again. I'm hoping I can squeeze in an IMAX before that gets kicked out by Indiana
it's great in
Jones
IMAX
and whatever else comes. So those are my thoughts on that. You can find me, of course, at batmanonfilm.com, where I'm reviewing Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is an anthology, so it's more pricey. And I haven't even read all the stories, but the Tom King one, where he's retelling the Joker's first appearance in Batman #1, is just terrifying and mind-blowing, and it's a great dark Batman story. Catwoman, Batman the Adventures Continue, and I've got reviews at the JamesBondDossier.com, where I'm currently reviewing 007 from Dynamite Comics. And I have my own YouTube channel now. It's called The Flash, Up to Speed with Wally West. And I'm just going issue by issue and doing like a synopsis and then sharing my thoughts, any memories that I might have of it. And then bonus episodes. Like, once I find a moment to sit down and throw in some pictures, I'll have my own random thoughts on the Flash movie. And I just had an episode this week where I cover issue 2.
Check it out.
So we're off and running. So
all right,
that's The Flash, Up to Speed with Wally West.
Attaboy. Yeah, go follow it on YouTube or subscribe to it on YouTube. Like his videos; they're definitely awesome. Javi's one of the biggest ballers out there for the comic books. I love him to death. Thank you so much for doing your thing out there, Justin. You don't do enough these days, but I know you're slowly coming back. So why don't you tell people where they can find you and do your stuff, man?
You can find me on Twitter at Justin M. Kowalski. I need to get back to my Batman 89 chapter by chapters. If anyone wants to join me, let me know. I gotta get some in. We kind of stopped at the end of February, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're almost in July. It went by really fast, but hey, now's the time to pick it back up, right? Michael Keaton's back. Jump back in to these, just dissecting like Batman 89. I love that movie so much, and so it's been really fun to do that. But yeah, I pop up where people pop me in. I'm kind of like the Dark Flash, man. I just show up in a bubble. And so if you need me, I'll be there to disrupt the timelines. I am a spaghetti noodle. I'll jump in. But yeah, I love the Flash movie. I thought it was fun. I just like having fun at the movies now. I think I'm getting to the point that just want to have a good time. Every time I have expectations, they don't get met. And so I just kind of need to leave them there. I love comics more than movies, and so the comics will always feed that enjoyment to me. That there is that desire of wanting them to kind of match up. Like, oh, if I can see this in a different dimension, that'd be cool. And I feel like I just have to give up on it, and that's not even a sad lament. That's just like, I have to be okay with that, because I think more people fight about comic book movies than actual comic books. You know, not a lot of people are fighting about like this issue of Batman made me so angry. Like, well, sometimes if it, like,
unless you're a
like,
Spider-Man fan.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we can read a graphic novel and be like, oh man, that was so good. You should read that. Like, it always comes down to like ripping somebody apart, like personally, when it comes to the movies, and it's like, man, is it kind of over that? Like, let's just, I don't know. Maybe we do need a break. And so, but yeah,
maybe
everyone watch the movies, have fun, be well.
There you go. Right on. Well said. Chris, final thoughts and tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Chris Clout. Paul,
yes.
I think it's time to let the cat out of the bag. But first,
oh God,
you find me on the Discovery Debrief Star Trek podcast. Strange New Worlds is back, and it is phenomenal. Again, we are preparing to discuss the season premiere that just aired last week, and then we're preparing to watch episode 2 this coming Thursday. Excellent show. Even if you're not much of a Star Trek fan, I would consider giving it a shot because it's very accessible, and you got to see Anson Mount's hair to believe that it's real. But, you know, there's something I've been working on for a while.
Oh, are you going to reveal it?
And, well, maybe.
God damn it.
Let's get nuts.
Next month, we're going to try it out. So I've talked for a long time about how there's a comic book run. There's never been one like it before. And it will never happen again. So we're going to try the very first episode in July for a project I'm calling Knights Never Die.
Woo!
It goes issue by issue through Grant Morrison's Batman run.
Oh my God.
Hell yeah. Finally.
Knights Never Die.
Now,
my goodness.
I say that it's going to be kind of a trial run because I don't know what the response is going to be. So we will at least do the 0 episode next month, which sort of sets the table for the beginning of Grant Morrison's Batman run through the end of Judd Winnick's time, through Infinite Crisis, and through the 1 year later Batman story, and how that kicks things off for a Batman who was broken and who is built back up again through the work of Grant Morrison and all of their wonderful artistic collaborators. There's not a completely exhaustive list of all of the stories, but it's most of them. And I'm looking forward to it. So we'll at least do the 0 episode next month. We'll see what the response is like, and if it's good, we'll keep it going.
If it's not good, who gives a crap? I want to see this for myself, God damn it. So who cares?
I was literally planning on asking you about this after we wrapped to see where you were with it. So
that's where I'm at with it. And there's also a potentially, like, if it's good, then there's a potential other issue by issue that I'm going to want to do as well.
Listen. Doesn't matter if only 2 people watch this, because I'll be one of them, and I'll be demanding I see this, because this is one unique, and it's rad, and I know you're passionate about it, and I know like it's going to be legit. So
very passionate about it. Yes.
I can't wait. And you have maybe the best title for it of all time.
Oh, well.
It's a phenomenal title. Knights Never Die is perfect.
That's the theme of the entire run, basically. Not to give too much away, but it did end 10 years ago. So
doesn't matter. This is gonna be rad. Well, anyway, dude, everyone, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, all that jazz. You know, if you can watch this far, I mean, God bless you. But anyway, all this, we gotta end it here. Chris, why don't you just take us out, my friend?
Read more